thank you very much. Yeah, so my name's Alfie. I come from Leamington Spa, and I'm obviously a musician, guitar player. I've lived in Leamington for a long time, and today I'm going to talk about silence. This topic, silence. It's called the talk I'm doing, silence in sound. Now it sounds a bit kind of pretentious. It's a bit of an oxymoron or whatever, but I'm hoping it's going to kind of make a bit more sense towards the end what I mean by silence in sound. So yeah. I'm going to talk about what silence means to me first, my kind of silence. So in my work, nowadays I try and incorporate a bit more silence, what I'm going to call silence anyway. But I spent so when I was younger, I was always kind of introduced to a lot of different types of music. A lot of Irish folk music was around when I was younger. Lots of people my mum used to play the drum, the baran, the Irish drum. My dad used to play the penny whistle, so there's always a lot of music around me. And there was a lot of sort of punk rock music as well. It was a massive factor in my life. So I was always listening to music from a very young age. I think I was about 11, it was my 11th birthday. My granddad gave me an acoustic guitar to kind of strum about on. And it was just this kind of cheap thing that I had, but I learned lots of chords on it, and I just haven't put the guitar down since then, basically. I've always been playing. And yeah, I went to university to study music in the end. I went to BIM in Brighton for 1 year, which is like a music academy. And I spent 2 years at Brunel University in London studying music. And then I kind of had a little bit of a hiatus. I went to Shanghai and stayed in Shanghai teaching English for 2 years. I just got back from Shanghai in May, actually. So I had a bit of a break from sort of looking for work in music, and I focused on kind of writing songs on the guitar, which is kind of like a hobby. Turned into a bit of an obsession in the end. And if you've ever I don't know if you've ever been to Shanghai before, but it's a bit of a crazy place. It's very busy, lots of traffic everywhere. There's no silence at all. It's it's really mad. So I think the music I was writing at the time definitely kind of reflects this the busyness of what Shanghai is. I'm going to show you a little example of one of the songs I was writing at the time. So I'm going to show you how I was trying to fit everything into one song. So this is one of my songs called Octopi, which is one of the first songs I wrote in this kind of style. I want to show you how it kind of reflects Shanghai. So basically the main sort of idea, the theme behind it is just two notes. It starts off kind of, okay, that's the main idea, just two notes. So it's quite simple, but what I'm doing there is I'm not doing anything with this hand. So I can do whatever I want with this hand. This hand's free to do whatever I want. And then, so it means I can put more ideas in with this hand. And then what you can do with that is you can double up the notes as well. So it's got like a chord pattern going behind it. But I want it to kind of flow a bit more. So this song represents the feeling I had when I was in Shanghai. I was always traveling around, getting planes, different countries, and stuff like that. So I wanted the kind of flow there. So all I did was add an extra note. It's got that 12/8 feel, okay? Very nice and smooth feel. And that's basically kind of what a rhythm guitarist would be playing in a band. Okay, so it's a kind of little riff for rhythm guitarists to play, but we need a bit of bass in there, a bit of kind of context. And I just use there's two chords you can use, two bass notes. It's just B and B minor to G, and it sounds really nice. You can write a whole song with those two chords. It's like this. So I've got those two notes, and then yeah, they're very emotive notes, just two chords, B minor to G, sound really nice. And then obviously you need a bit of sort of melody on top of that. So a really nice way I found to write melody is by playing harmonics. Okay, you want the melody to be really high pitched and at the top of everything else. So I wrote the melody in harmonics just to make it bring out a bit more. And then one last layer to add to that. You see how much I like adding to this song. I wanted to add a bit of percussion. And I usually use a pedal for that as well. It's a delay pedal, makes it sound like more is going on than it actually is. But I'm a bit of a technical problem today, so I'm just going to show you the kind of the way I wrote it. So yeah, the percussion, you can just kind of do stuff like that. I'll show you how I put it onto this song anyway. Something like that, yeah. So that's one of the first songs I wrote in that kind of style, and as I said, it's very busy, a lot going on, kind of reflects how I was feeling at the time. And then I kind of had a bit of inspiration. I took a trip to somewhere very close to Shanghai, a place called Morganshan, and it's a very relaxed kind of place. It's a tiny village, and it's near Shanghai, but it basically feels like you're in the middle of nowhere, just kind of bamboo forests everywhere. And I was kind of walking around this little village and going through these forests and stuff, and with my friends, and we ended up at this bar, and it's, as I said, so peaceful. Like, there was no music even in the bar or anything, and they just had like this kiwi wine, which was ridiculously strong spirit. I don't know what it was. It tasted horrible, but I think I had a few too many of those because I managed to pick up a guitar off the wall that was kind of hanging up. I don't know how long it had been there. It's covered in dust, and I was just kind of like jamming along on this guitar. I tuned it down to Dad-Gad tuning. If anyone's a guitarist, feedback going on. There we go. Ooh. Okay, yeah, so I tuned it down to Dad-Gad tuning. Bass tuning, I use that all the time. I just sort of started listening to the other sounds that were coming out of the guitar. So I was playing kind of very simple stuff. You know, there was so quiet you could hear like the guitar kind of creaking as I moved it, and you could hear like my fingers touching the strings. And then I came up with. There's a lot of silence in this place. Every sound kind of rose out, came from the instrument. You know, all those sounds you wouldn't normally hear were kind of at the top instead of kind of buried underneath. And it was really inspired me, and it inspired me to write the piece that you heard at the beginning of this talk. Actually, I called Morganshan after the place. Just felt like it was, you know, deserved to be called that. Yeah, and that's how I wrote that piece. And then yeah, so I'm going to talk a bit more about some other people, some other inspirations. So someone else who has inspired this talk is this guy, Niels Fram. He's a German composer and pianist, and plays a few other things too. As you can see, he's got about 5 different instruments going on there. This guy's really good. He's very unique way of playing. If you listen to his recordings, you can literally hear he plays so delicately. You can hear him. You can hear the pads hitting the keys. You can hear the chair kind of creaking as he's moving around and stuff. And I think, you know, normally you wouldn't want those sounds in your recordings, but in this, it sounds so nice that it kind of reminds you that a real human being is kind of playing this music. It kind of brings you into the room with him. And I think it's a really ingenious way of doing things. So this guy also very much influenced the kind of improvised bit at the beginning of this talk, just because of the kind of emotion from that. So, but it's not silence. He's still playing a lot in this. It's still a lot of sound. Like, when does silence really even, like, when do we experience silence in music? It doesn't really happen in modern music at all. If you look at sort of a waveform from a piece of music these days, there's no kind of, you can see where it goes up and down, the volume of it goes up and down. It never goes down to zero, really, maybe at the beginning and the end. And we've got this thing at the moment called the loudness wars in modern music, which basically means every year or every few years the kind of music gets louder. Basically, it's getting louder so that if you hear a louder piece of music, your brain kind of thinks, oh, I prefer this to the quieter piece. A bit weird. I don't know why they're doing that, but it's a kind of a weird way of getting you to listen to music now. So you never really experienced like silence. It never really happens. It's always very loud. It's always compressed, so it's a big kind of chunk of music. But it does happen occasionally, kind of. It depends how you look at it. It's a bit of a ambiguous thing. But there's a great quote by someone you might recognise. this quote is a lot more profound before you realise who actually said it. So Lisa Simpson said, you have to listen to the notes she's not playing. And I remember watching this episode when I was younger actually and thinking it was quite interesting. And I didn't quite get it until I was a bit older. But basically this guy here in the green they're watching a jazz fiddle player, and she's playing some groovy notes in there because it's jazz, you can play whatever you want. And Lisa's saying you have to listen to the notes she's not playing. I think she's basing this on an old Miles Davis quote, but I quite like that Lisa Simpson said it. It seems a lot more profound for some reason. But it's not silence. The notes you're not playing, she means she's playing outside of the key center. She's playing unusual sounds. So I think this is the closest thing. Well, we'll see what you think of it. So this guy, John Cage. Has anyone heard of John Cage? Yeah? Okay, has anyone heard of this piece, 4 minutes, 33 seconds? Yeah. Okay, all right, I'm going to show you a quick clip from this piece. I think it's a very interesting piece. I don't know if there's any music students in here. If you're a music student, this song comes up literally probably once a year when you study music. At least twice a year, I'd say, actually. I'm going to go onto YouTube and play that piece for you guys. So here it is. I think this is a great performance of this piece too. Okay, so you're probably thinking something's going wrong. Okay, no one's playing anything. The piece is called 4 minutes 33 because it's just 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence. That's literally the entire piece. So, but I like this performance. Like you can see, he's trying not to laugh. No one's taking this seriously. If you look in the crowd as well, people are trying not to laugh. You can see this guy here. He's got a big smile on his face. And to be honest, if it was me, I would have had to be dragged out of this concert hall. I wouldn't be able to keep myself composed. But yeah, it's a very interesting piece. I'm going to show you another little bit because I think this is fantastic. About here. So this is the end of the first movement. See, it's finished. Everyone can speak again. We haven't got time for the whole piece, I'm afraid. There's one other thing. Oh no, it's not going to play, is it? Never mind. Anyway, basically what happens is it zooms into someone's like manuscript paper, and it's all written in Comic Sans, which I think is amazing. Like no one has taken this piece seriously. They're kind of laughing. This guy's messing around a bit. But I find that quite interesting how it's not taken seriously because it was such a political piece of art. It raised so many questions. John Cage was kind of forcing you to listen to different sounds of music. You know, people kind of, when they discuss this, they kind of think the main discussion is this a piece of music or not? You know, and John Cage will respond with, it doesn't matter what you think. It's there. I've done it. I've made it. It doesn't matter. Like you can call it what you want. It's been made. But it's yeah, as I said, it's a political piece of art. It's not a silent piece, though. He'll tell you it's not a silent piece. Okay, what he wants you to think of is it's the sound of an orchestra. It's the sound of a concert hall when the orchestra isn't playing. So it's the sound of people's feet shuffling around, sound of papers moving and stuff like that. People turning the page. And there's a TED talk that I was watching. I want to talk about this a lot more because it's a really interesting piece of music. There's a TED talk by Julian Dodd, which I thought he came to the conclusion it's not music. You know, he decided it's not music. He says that music should be instructions written by a composer to create a sonic piece of art, which is kind of true, but I disagree with him on this. I think it's a really good talk. It's really interesting, but most music doesn't follow. A lot of other music doesn't follow these rules. You know, it's not just a composer who makes the instructions. First of all, and in jazz music, for instance, they don't follow instructions by a composer. They kind of improvise a lot. And also, there's definitely some instructions in this piece, like very clear instructions, probably clearer than any other piece of music. Don't play anything, you know. That's the biggest instruction that you could get. So I don't agree with that. And I think yeah, it is. I think it is a sonic piece of art. So I think it does end up being music. Depends how you think about it. Maybe it's not good music. So up to you how you kind of decide to think about that. There's a great book as well. I just want to talk about quickly. A really good book that's kind of reminded me of this piece. It's called Why Your 5-Year-Old Could Not Have Done That, and it's about all these kind of modern artworks, and there's like lots of blank pieces of canvas in there and stuff like that. You know, very kind of pretentious stuff, but it's very interesting. It comes down to the political points of it. You know, I don't know if do you guys see the banana that had been taped to the wall and then sold for what was it like 90,000?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? And then someone came in and then picked up the banana, ate the banana, and said that was his version of art. He ate the banana. I think that's amazing. That whole story is just a kind of work of art to me. But anyway, I'm going to come back to the beginning again. All right, this silence and sound. So what I mean by this is we talk about silence and the different ways of kind of incorporating it into music, or quietness, I suppose, or bringing what would normally be silent up to the top so you can hear it a bit more. And what I think I'm getting at this is silence to sound is kind of like minimalism. It's stripping everything away, so it's not playing as much as you can as possible. It's not sort of using every technique you know. It's minimalism, and that means a lot in lots of like different kind of art forms. I think, as we've seen with kind of actual like painting and art, you know, and like music as well. And there's one more example I want to give of that. There's a story. Apparently, it was by Hemingway. There's a kind of theory. It was by like a rumor. It was by Hemingway. I don't think it was. I think they just attached his name to it to make it more famous. Apparently, he had a bet with some friends. See who could write the shortest story. I think it's less than 10 words and make it as like effective as possible. And apparently, Hemingway or whoever it was came up with this devastating story. That's horrible. You know, but he stripped away everything that wasn't necessary and wrote this horrible story. It just makes me want to cry. And that's kind of another version of minimalism. It's taken everything kind of unneeded away, and this idea of minimalism is something I'm trying to do with my own things. You know, I do whole pieces where I don't play any of the strings on the guitar. I take away the kind of necessary stuff, and I just play on the guitar body and use it like a percussive instrument. I'm trying to make things a lot less technical, and even though a lot of my ideas they are very technical, I try and kind of create a balance. So start off technical, end up not so technical. So now I want to talk about like other ways we could do this, and your silence. I want to talk about what you guys do. So I want to come up with a challenge. See if you guys can do this as well. Create something with your own kind of artwork or your own like thing with as much silence or minimalism as possible. Like, use this idea as best you can, and upload a picture or a video to Instagram, and use this hashtag CM Silence, Creative Morning Silence. See what you can come up with. I'm going to do the same thing as well. I think upload some videos and stuff. I'm going to try and take away vital elements of what I do on the instrument, and try and see what I can come up with. And I really want to see if you guys could do something too. If you follow the hashtag as well, that'd be great. And I'm going to play some more music to kind of finish off, if that's all right with you guys. Hopefully you're going to get. That's not fitting with the theme, is it really? Hold on a sec. Something a bit nicer. There we go. Okay, so thank you everyone so much for coming, and thanks to Creative Morning for setting this up. It's been quite a unique experience. I'm going to do one more song for you guys.